Welcome, welcome, welcome. What a great pleasure it is for me to be here in your presence, to have the opportunity to speak with you and share this time together in what I consider to be a very, very meaningful way. My intention is to uplift you and your loved ones for the rest of your lives. And the information I'm going to give you today is going to enhance the quality of your lives, and it's going to give you greater longevity with more vitality. That's what's going to happen, and you want to be sure to have a pen and paper handy to write down all the information I'm giving to you. The title of today's presentation is Preventing Cancer and Preventing Heart Attacks. Again, it's my pleasure to present this to you. I'm Dr. Arnold Nerenberg. I've been a licensed clinical psychologist in the state of California since 1974. I've been in practice for over 50 years, including California and other states and other places. And I've had the pleasure and the good fortune and the blessing to walk upon this earth for over 83 years. And so what a great delight it is to be here with you and be able to give you something that's going to really help you. The title of today's presentation is Preventing Cancer and Preventing Heart Attacks. Let me say to begin with, I'm not an MD. So technically I have to tell you anything I tell you, talk to your doctor about it. I'm self-taught. My knowledge is quite vast, as you'll see. Now, I've been through a heart attack and cancer myself, and that was part of my drive to really understand it. When I was 61, I kept putting on a lot of weight. When I graduated college, I was 155, so my body's pretty well geared for that. So in my 60s, I went up to 222. So 61, had a heart attack. For many of you, if you violate yourself as I did, I just wanted to get big. I got big and strong, very strong, but I wasn't healthy. Anyway, I had the heart attack. 61, it was a serious one of the LAD, which is called the widowmaker, because that's the killer. That's a real bad one. It was 90% occluded. That's serious. So I went in, put a stent in there, an angiography that came up through the groin, through an artery, come in there, saw us closed, put a meshed iron stent in it, a titanium stent, opened it up, and I'm here today. But there's a whole journey that goes with that. Now, if you have a heart attack, or loved ones had a heart attack, you can have open heart surgery where they take some artery from another place and put it where it's blocked up, or you can get a stent. I like the stents have worked. I've got 6 stents, different arteries closing up. And there's a reason I'm alive today. The grace of God, my determination to stay alive. In any case, when I was 61, I set a world record, and then I kept setting world records. And then at 65, I took the title strongest drug-free man in the world for my age and weight. I was down to 212. I was big, I was powerful, but I was not well. I went into prostate cancer. Now, the prostate cancer, I used to drink a lot of milk. I mean, I grew up on milk, steak, milk, apple, pie. That's what you did in this country. Those were great foods. Now, milk has calcium for your bones, has protein for your muscles. But in a study, a huge study, you can read the book China Study by Dr. Campbell, that calcium protein in dairy products, milk and cheese, can cause prostate cancer, which is what happened for me, and breast cancer. So I want to help you so that you don't have to go through prostate cancer or breast cancer or go through a heart attack. Now, I get to talk to so many wonderful people, and almost all of you tell me this uncle, this aunt, this niece, this nephew is dying from cancer. This one had a heart attack. I mean, I see tragedies like that every day, or some of my patients have gone through with heart attacks and cancers. Heart attack is the biggest killer, but it can be fast. If you're lucky, it'll take you out. If not, it can really cripple you. And then cancers, which can be a long, painful death. It can be. I'm really trying to help you. I mean, I'm talking to you as if you're my own children. Heck, I'm old enough to be even your grandfather. So when I finish this video, I'm going to send it to, I have 7 children. I'm going to send it to all 7 of them. Make sure they're seeing this. Although I've always been talking to them about it, I want them to have a good synopsis of the whole thing. And I want you to have it. I want you to have it for you and protect your children and your parents and all your loved ones. Now, when I was 65, I was diagnosed with prostate cancer. It was somewhat aggressive one, with Gleason of 7, and it was an intermediate amount. And because of my self-training in the way of honor, I said to the doctor, "That's great." He said, "What?" I don't think he thought he was hearing me right. I said, "That's great, Doc." Of course, my face did go numb first for about 20 seconds. Then I said, "This prostate cancer will make me stronger emotionally, physically, and spiritually," which it did. When I stepped outside, I saw the clouds and the people and the birds and saw the winds and felt them on me. And it was beautiful. It was amazing. It was so poignant, so exquisite. And the people walking by, they seemed like they were family to me. I know they looked at me as a stranger, but I just want to go talk to everybody because it was like I knew them all. I know they're human beings like me and their family, but I knew it would seem odd, so I didn't actually go up and talk to everybody. I should say also, at that time, when I had the prostate cancer, I set the world record on the bench press at 65, drug-free, bench press 365 pounds, and then set other world records on other lifts as well, including the power pull-up later on, whatnot, T-bar strongman pull, and other lifts. And I was given the title strongest drug-free man in the world for my age and my weight when I had prostate cancer. I'm telling you that story because if you or a loved one comes down one of these situations, you can still achieve amazing things. Now, of course, the way I dealt with it and the way you deal with it will affect your prognosis. It really will. I said, "God, if you want me to die and go to the other side, that's what I want. Lord, I want to die and go to the other side. I really wanted it. I'm happy to do it." Truthfully. I said, "But if you want me to serve you here in this life, that's what I want. I want to serve you here." But I said, "God, if you have no preference, I prefer to be able to survive this." And as it turned out, that's what happened. That was 18 years ago, 23 years ago since the heart attack. And it's good because I really didn't start catching on to life deeply until I was 70. At 83, I finally know what I'm doing. That's the good news. I finally know what I'm doing. So the casein protein, the milk, you don't want to be doing that. You don't even want soy milk. You want to have like almond milk, oat milk. That's okay if you have to have some kind of milk, but don't minimize. Just minimize. I don't want to have some coffee once in a while. I'll put a little creamer in it. Not much. So that's not going to be the end of the world. To prevent that cancer, you want to help prevent it. You have pomegranate juice, 8 ounces a day. I like to get one from Trader Joe's. It's an organic one. It's a reasonable price. But you get any one of them. Or eat the pomegranates themselves. Even if you got a breast cancer or a prostate cancer, a lot of research to show it will actually shrink the tumor. It'll shrink the tumor. That's beautiful. And it'll slow down how quickly it metastasizes. Having cancer is not a super big issue. I had that prostate cancer. The good news was it didn't metastasize. It didn't spread outside of my prostate. So I went and had a prostatectomy, had it out, and good to go. But there's other types of treatments. You can get radiation. You can get proton therapy, which is amazing. It's just a much more refined form of radiation. It doesn't damage you, and it's got a very good prognosis. And you can have chemo. But the key is getting these things early. Now, when it comes to prostate cancer, when you get your blood work, make sure your doctor, especially after age 50, is getting the PSA. PSA. If it goes about 4, it's problematic. But you can have it. Now, I had mine below 4, it's like 2. But But one of my doctors found, because as a man, you want to get what's called a digital exam, where they put the finger in through the anus, feel the prostate. Well, when my doctor did that, he felt a lump. So then I had a biopsy, and sure enough, it was cancer. So, but we did get it before. The key is to, if you get the cancers, if you get it early enough, you're okay. If you're stage 4, it's going to be a problem. You're stage 5, you're going to eventually probably die of the cancer. So you want to catch a stage 1 if you can. Now, here's the key about this. The PSA is not enough. Make sure you're getting your digital test. I'll tell you why. My PSA was normal. So let's say I have a PSA of 1. Say, oh, I'm fine. You're not necessarily fine, guys. Because if your PSA the year before was 0.5 and it went up to 1, it doubled. So 1's all right, but it doubled. And the next year, if it goes to 2, it doubled again. So you really need to compare your PSA from 1 year to the next. And your doctor may not have that available. So he might just look at it, say, oh, you're okay. My primary care doctor, I was at Kaiser at the time, he looked at the PSA, thought I was fine. It was one of my other doctors who did the digital exam, and he found a lump on my prostate. So that's why you want the digital exam. Now, for women, you could be feeling, you could be checking your own breast for any kind of lumps. Of course, you get your mammograms. That's part of the prevention. But of course, you want to be preventing the cancers. Now, some of the best food, I'm going to tell you, the cancer-fighting foods. As I said, pomegranate juice, absolutely essential. Selenium, which you can get pills. Life Extension has a great form of selenium. Or you can eat Brazil nuts, you'll get some, but the pill is even better. And if you take in combination with coenzyme Q10, this cardiovascular benefits are amazing because it works synergistically. The CoQ10 and the selenium work synergistically to help prevent mortality through cardiovascular events. So some supplements work synergistically, or they reinforce the power of each other. Selenium, CoQ10 is another. Of course, the king of the vegetables, broccoli. You want to have broccoli. Not only have that fiber, but it has various nutrients in it and chemicals in it, natural elements that will help prevent cancer. And of course, the more fiber you have, it kind of goes through your system and cleans it out. See, you don't want to have food that's going to stick a long time in your colon or your digestive system. So you want to go easy on red meats because that could sit there a long time. Long time. Beef, pork, lamb, sit for hours and hours and hours. And that's more likely to cause a cancer in your gastrointestinal system. Now, for those of you that like barbecue, and I know a lot of you do, you don't want to be blackening that meat because that meat being blackened actually causes a carcinogenic reaction. And then when you eat it blackened, it might taste good, but I had a good friend who died from rectal cancer, and he was always barbecuing meats and whatnot, and did him in. So, in the barbecue, cook it slowly. Don't let it get blackened. Then you want cooked tomatoes. Cooked tomatoes are actually healthier for you than raw tomatoes. That sounds odd, but here's the truth of it. When you cook the tomatoes, it releases the lycopene. And the lycopene has cancer-preventing properties. So cooked tomatoes, broccoli, selenium, pomegranate juice. These are you can be getting these in natural foods. Whenever you can, you certainly want to be getting these nutrients from natural foods. But there are times when you really need supplements. I'm going to tell you the supplements. But by the way, the foods, what you want is a foundation in your diet. Make sure you make a note of this. Beans, greens, and berries. Beans, greens, and berries. Every day if possible. Now, you might have some other foods that aren't quite as healthy, but that's a great foundation in terms of fiber, antioxidants, other nutrients that are really important. Phytonutrients, All these are wonderful. So as much as possible, you want to get the nutrients from natural foods and preferably organic. It's a little more expensive, but the organic foods, you want to get something with not that much pesticide. Those pesticides, it's toxic. And then they find out some years later, well, that one was killing people. They say, well, it's not that big a dose of a pesticide. Well, you get a little toxic chemical here, you have something else here. The other thing, this thing, before you know it, it's quite a load. Quite a load. By the way, it's really a strain on your liver that really cleans it out. So you want to keep your liver detoxified. Milk thistle will help detoxify your liver. Milk thistle. And the first thing in the morning, if you have a glass of water, you warm it up. You put in 1/4 fresh lemon, just a pinch of cayenne pepper, and a tablespoon of extra virgin olive oil. Organic preferably, but extra virgin olive oil. You drink that on an empty stomach. That'll detoxify your liver and your gallbladder. So you want to be constantly detoxifying. Now, all diseases, whether you're talking about cancer, cardiovascular events such as heart attacks or strokes, or even Alzheimer's, or arthritis, all of them begin with an inflammatory process, inflammation. You want to know what your inflammation level is because there are ways to deal with that. The best measure, you got to tell your doctor, they won't order this unless you tell them to, is C-reactive protein, highly sensitive C-reactive protein, CRP. CRP. Make sure you write that down and tell your doctor, I want to know my CRP, because all disease starts with inflammation. You can reduce any inflammatory process with curcumin, garlic, and ginger. Curcumic, garlic, and ginger. That combination. Now, the garlic has other amazing benefits for you. Amazing. It actually reduces the plaque in your arteries. From a very young age, 5, 6, 7 years old, you're building up plaque. The arteries are starting to close up. That later becomes dangerous. And these processed foods help to cause that. A lot of saturated fat will cause it. Garlic will actually reduce the plaque building up. Now, on your blood, you want to get your blood work probably at least twice a year. I do it 3 times a year, but definitely no less than once a year. And an indicator of how much plaque is building up is apolipoprotein B. Apolipoprotein B, what's called ApoB. Tell your doctor to get it for you. If you don't tell him, he's not going to do it. He's going to get your cholesterol, your triglycerides, LDL, total cholesterol, your triglycerides, and that's it. Your HDL, that's going to be it. You have to tell him you want that. Now, above 90 is starting to become a problem. The lower you keep that, the better. My last one was about 60. You want to be bringing that down as much as possible. Now, you want to be keeping, in terms of cholesterol, your doctors always make a big fuss about cholesterol. You want to bring your LDL in particular. The total cholesterol is not as big an issue as the LDL, low density lipoproteins. The LDL, if you're already having cardiovascular issues, you want to, they used to say under 70. Now, if you've had a heart attack, you've had stents put in or bypass, you want to keep it around 40 to 50. My last one was 50. Now, you can bring your cholesterol down with red rice yeast. But there are certain medications that will do it as well, such as statin drugs, particularly Lipitor and Crestor. But there's side effects of those drugs. One of the ones from the statin drugs, you can get muscle pains, more propensity towards tendon tears. I had that. I remember weightlift, I had different tendons starting to pop. So a good way to control to minimize the side effect, and the doctors don't tell you about this. You really got to work with them, and you find out almost by accident. You'll find some of these things. You don't want to, if you can avoid it, you don't want to take your statin drug every day. You want to take it every other day, cut down your side effects, and then you want to take ezetimibe every day. Side effects of that are very minimal. So you're taking ezetimibe. I personally take 10 milligrams of ezetimibe every day, and every 2 days I take 20 milligrams of Lipitor. Cut way down on my side effects, way down on it. Now, that'll reduce your total cholesterol. It'll actually reduce your triglycerides too. You want to bring those triglycerides down to under 100, preferably. The lower, the better. But triglycerides are these the fats that are floating around in your circulatory system. If you're having red meats, that'll go up. Hydrogenated oils. You want to bring it down. You want to be having beans, greens, and berries every day. That'll help with it. So you want to keep your triglycerides down. If you're having cheese, even some oils, even if you have peanut butter, could raise it. Peanut butter can raise that. Or eggs are very good for you, very, very good for you. But if you're having it too often, particularly the yolks, which are very healthy for you, it can raise your triglycerides. So that's why you want to monitor it. You want to see, how is this food affecting me? I personally love eggs. I feel so good having them, and I want that protein. But it was raising my LDL and my triglycerides. So I may have 2 poached eggs every week or 2. I love it. I go to a restaurant, say, give me 2 poached, medium, and I get a side of avocado with it, and I'm good. By the way, you get to really like these foods. When I was eating all these foods to just get big, I was big, as I said. I wasn't healthy. I was huge. I was very muscular, very powerful, but I wasn't healthy. It takes about 2 weeks to get used to transition from cake and red meats, meat and potatoes and apple pie and so forth. It takes a couple of weeks to develop a new taste pattern where you're looking forward to eating some blueberries. I'm going to have some blueberries. It becomes exciting for you. Maybe I'll have some kefir with it. So they find out kefir is very high in probiotics and yogurt and fermented foods like kimchi, sauerkraut. That gives you probiotics. Now, the probiotics will help prevent so many illnesses. It'll help prevent cancers, help prevent heart attacks, help prevent Alzheimer's. And you can take it in different pills, or you can, get it from the foods that I just mentioned. You want to be getting it every day if possible. Apple cider vinegar, you want to be getting that every day. Now, it turns out these little critters, a little bacteria in there, they're healthy bacteria, for really healthy for forming the biodome inside of your whole system. Now, some of it's good for the gastrointestinal tract. You can get that from like Life Extension, probiotics for the gastrointestinal system. But then there's special little critters that you take for your liver. They have some for oral health that your mouth has on it. They have some for your heart, some that have a propensity for the heart. There's probiotics for many different organs in areas in your body. Now, some of the good ones are bifidus and acidophilus, but that's just a couple of them. There are other ones. These little critters, by the way, when you're having an antibiotic, you're coming down with some illness, bacterial caused, you take antibiotics. Great, antibiotics are wonderful. But it destroys all the bacteria, including your good bacteria, those little friendly guys that live in you and me. We need those guys, and they need us. So when you take the antibiotics, make sure you then, especially when you finish taking your dose of that, you finish the round, how many pills you have to take, make sure you're getting probiotics to replenish your biodome with good bacteria. Now, for women, they can get vaginal yeast infection if they don't, because yeast will start growing. And all kinds of bad bacteria can start growing in anybody's system. And those are the guys you don't want. You want to get these good bacteria. They're your friends. We're not alone in this world. You might feel alone. We've got 1 trillion of these little guys in us. It's called a symbiotic relationship. They help us. They even help us digest food, and they help us stay alive. And we help them. We give an environment for them to live in. Very symbiotic relationship. Now, certainly, there are procedures, like I mentioned, mammograms for women, colonoscopies to find if there are polyps in your colon. So you got to drink these fluids that kills everything in you. It clears you out, all right, but also kills off your probiotics that are in you. So after you finish a colonoscopy, make sure that you get your probiotics again, because you're not okay after that. Not okay, you just keep excreting, having bowel movements, clear out everything, so when they go in, they can see what's up. Now, even if you have polyps, most of it is not going to turn to cancer, very rare. So if you do your colonoscopy, great. But if you want to prevent those polyps, a good thing is prevention. One thing is brewer's yeast. Brewer's yeast helps prevent polyps from building up. So if you cut down on your red meats and you're having good fiber, you're moving the food through, you're less likely to get the polyp to begin with. And the brewer's yeast especially will help prevent the polyps from developing in the first place. So we talked about the mammograms, the colonoscopy. We talked about your PSA. Now, in terms of your heart, I'm going to tell you the awesome four that Dr. Steven Sinatra talks about, the leading cardiologist in terms of natural health. Coenzyme Q10, magnesium, L-carnitine, and D-ribose. Awesome four. The coenzyme Q10 helps with oxygen facilitation in the mitochondria, which is the powerhouse. But every cell in your body has mitochondria, and that helps bring in the oxygen. If you're on a statin drug, make sure you're taking coenzyme Q10, particularly ubiquinol type, not ubiquinone, ubiquinol. 100 milligrams 1 to 3 times a day. Why? Because if you're taking a statin drug, it will reduce your body's ability to produce the coenzyme Q10. So you want to always supplement with it. Take a statin without taking coenzyme Q10 is like medical malpractice. Make sure you're taking that with it. The L-carnitine helps bring the fatty acids to be burned also in the mitochondria for energy, particularly in the heart. Magnesium dilates the blood vessels, and if God forbid you have a heart attack, it'll actually reduce the damage to your heart during a heart attack. Every night I take 500 milligrams of magnesium. I think it's magnesium citrate. I take a time-released magnesium that keeps feeding into my body for 6 hours. And I take magnesium L-threonate. Magnesium L-threonate. Life Extension has a good one. That's one that can cross the blood-brain barrier, because a lot of these nutrients can't come into the brain. Magnesium L-threonate can. So that brings magnesium into my brain. So I'm getting it throughout my body, and that's what you want to be doing. Now, we talked about synergistic relationships. If you take even 2,000 IUs of vitamin D with your magnesium, they work synergistically. You'll absorb more magnesium that way, and you'll absorb more, your vitamin D will go up. Now, vitamin D is essential for long life. Absolutely a necessity. Most people need about 7,000 IUs a day. If you're getting sick, coming down with something, you might take 10,000 IUs a day. If you go to the doctor, you get your blood work, anything over 30, they'll tell you is normal. Good, right? Normal. Everybody wants to be normal. Wrong. You don't want to be normal. You want to be optimal. Optimal. What is the optimal level of vitamin D? It's 50 to 80. If your vitamin D is lower than 50, you can have a shorter lifespan through cancer, heart attacks, whatever. Now, to really best absorb that vitamin D and for it to be taken in the most constructive way possible, it's good to have vitamin K with it. The different companies that make what's combined, otherwise you just take yourself K2 with the vitamin D. And by the way, if ever you're taking, any of you are taking calcium supplements, you definitely want to make sure you have magnesium with it, vitamin D, and K. One good thing about the vitamin K that's good for your cardiovascular system, it helps make sure that the calcium, whatever source you're getting it from, will go into your bones and not into your arteries. If you get calcified arteries and calcified valves in your heart, that's a problem. So you want to have that vitamin K. You can get vitamin K from spinach as well and different leafy green vegetables. Typically, when you're having leafy green vegetables, you want to steam it because it has goitrogens in it, and the goitrogens are not good for your thyroid. Your thyroid's right in here. You want to have a good thyroid functioning. If your thyroid gets off, you'll be losing hair. You want coronary depressed, insomnia, and your energy will go down. Those are some of the symptoms of low thyroid. Many people had that. I had that. So I take about 100 micrograms a day. I've been doing it for 30 years. And I'm good to go. So there again, if you get your thyroid panel, tell your doctor you want to have your thyroid panel. They'll take your T3, T4, and TSH. Well, they'll tell you if your TSH is under 4, you're normal. Do you want to be normal? No, you want to be optimal. What's optimal in your TSH? 1 to 2. 1 to 2. TSH stands for thyroid stimulating hormones. So when your thyroid's not active, your pituitary gland sends out TSH to stimulate more production. So you want selenium, by the way, which helps with prevent cancer. Selenium is also very good for your thyroid. And a lot of people that get hypothyroid, it's much more common than hyperthyroid, very often have what's called Hashimoto's disease. Hashimoto's disease, which is really an autoimmune disease where a person is attacking their own thyroid. They have antibodies attacking that like it's a problem. So you want to make it, so I would steam, even just for a little while, to help neutralize those goitrogens. Now, blood pressure is key because if it's not controlled, it can cause a heart attack or a stroke. As a matter of fact, if you have chronically elevated blood pressure, and let me say this, optimal blood pressure is 115 over 75. 115 over 75 with a pulse of under 70. So let's say you have 130 over 80. It's unlikely to cause a stroke or a heart attack, but it could cause what's called end organ damage. End organ damage. What does that mean? Damage your organs. It could damage your kidneys. It could damage your vision. You could start getting, heck, you go blind if it goes on long enough. You don't want to have it elevated. Now, there are natural ways to lower your blood pressure. Olive leaf extract with celery seeds, you can get that as a supplement, will lower your blood pressure, and magnesium will. See, magnesium dilates your blood vessels. When your blood vessels dilate, it's easier for the blood to be flowing through it. You want that blood really moving along. You want it really moving along. Now, it's a lot of information I'm giving you. You want to be sure to be writing this down. Now, if you have a blood pressure issue, 130 systolic, so the top number is called systolic, 130 over diastolic, over, say, 80. It's elevated. If you can't bring it down naturally through a change of lifestyle, you want to go on medication. There are different classes. The AC inhibitors, like lisinopril, which dilates the blood vessels, or ARBs, which does the same thing by blocking the receptors for the neurotransmitters that constrict it. So you have the AC inhibitors and ARBs. Then you can have a diuretic, which gets the water out of your system, and that will lower your blood pressure. You can have calcium channel blockers. They also dilate the blood vessels. If you're getting angina over your heart, a little pain over the heart, calcium channel blockers are good for angina. So if you or a loved one's getting that, talk to the cardiologist. I recommend if you're having cardiovascular issues, to talk to a cardiologist, not just your primary care doctor. And calcium channel blockers are good for that, such as nifedipine, or you can get amlodipine, but I like nifedipine. If you're really getting really bad, starting to feel something there, you take nitroglycerin. It'll just open it up real quickly, everything. You might get a little dizzy, but it opens it up. So you want to be opening your blood vessels as much as possible. And there's two ways to make your blood vessel wider. One is you dilate it. And how do you do that? You increase the production of nitrous oxide. Nitrous oxide in the inner lining of your blood vessels is the endothelial cells. They release nitrous oxide. Resveratrol will increase nitrous oxide. Beets will also increase your nitrous oxide production. And that dilates it because it's when they're constricting that your blood pressure goes up. And when it expands, it's slowing your blood pressure. But it's also important to minimize the amount of plaque on your arteries. So I mentioned to you garlic will help remove that. But let me tell you what causes heart attacks and strokes. It's not just plaque. It's what's called vulnerable plaque. Vulnerable plaque is plaque on your arteries. As the blood's going by, it rips it off, it ruptures. So when your plaque ruptures on an artery, your blood platelets come to it and treat it as a wound. So they come to the blood platelets to cause it to coagulate. Well, if you get a coagulation in your arteries, it's like a thrombus. So this thing in the way, and yet the blood can't move. It can't get to your heart or your brain. Now, that means you're not going to deliver nutrients, but more importantly, you're not going to get oxygen. If it goes on for a little while, it's a heart attack, myocardial infarction. That's what a heart attack is. So, the whole thing is to make sure you minimize your vulnerable plaque. Minimize your vulnerable plaque. How do you do that? You can take a combination of pycnogenol and gotacola. There's a product called Arterial Protect from Life Extension. It'll put a harder cap around the plaque, so it's less likely to rupture. Even with all these health precautions, about a year and a half ago, I had 90% occlusion of 3 major arteries, including the LAD, which 90% occluded, that's heart attack level. And I'm probably alive today because I was taking that Arterial Protect, so it wasn't rupturing. Of course, grace of God and having a good cardiologist. I was at Scripps, it's top hospital for doing angiograms. They went in and put some stents in there. That's 3 stents put in at that time. So I've told 6 stents. I'm a walking guy with I'm got all these metals in me, titanium, and now the newest stents. 2 types of stents. The bare metal stent, which I used to have, I had 2 of those. I did really well with that. But they decided to come out with what's called medicated stents. Now, a medicated stent, for about a month or 2, it gives out a medication to help stop a thrombus or it starts clogging up in the stent. I really wanted a bare metal stent because I did well with that. But they're concerned about restenosis. So when I went to Scripps, they said, we don't even use bare metal anymore. Well, they gave me some others with some other metals. And this guy that was doing it, I had one of the top guys in the world, because he said they can get to go out all kinds of curves and whatnot. He's very skilled at it. And Scripps has good equipment for that. So I had 3 stents put in at that time. Now, when you have stents or there's some cardiovascular issues, you want to be thinning out your blood. And particularly if you're on a medicated stent, you want to prevent this thrombus. So they give you Plavix is a real good one. Plavix will thin out your blood so it doesn't coagulate. You don't want those blood platelets coagulating. So you thin it out with Plavix. The standard dose is 75 milligrams. Well, after a while, you want to try to get off as many of these things as you can. So I just take a half of Plavix these days. But I take with it garlic, which also thins out the blood. But I take a garlic with nattokinase, which is made from fermented soy. That also thins out the blood. Fish oil thins out the blood. So I'm taking other natural blood thinners in addition to Plavix. I find ways to cut down these medications whenever I can. Now, one thing will make you more prone to Alzheimer's, heart attacks, strokes, cancer, diabetes. So diabetes is when your insulin resistance gets really severe. Insulin resistance means that the insulin from your pancreas it can't bring the sugar into the receptors into your blood and into your cells from the blood. So it's like a key. It can't open up on the receptor. That's dangerous. So you want to reduce your insulin resistance. A natural way to do that is taking berberine. Berberine, 500 milligrams 3 times a day. Another natural one is bitter melon. Bitter melon. So those are 2 natural, as well as capsules of cinnamon. Those are natural ways to reduce blood sugar. But there's a wonderful drug that will reduce insulin resistance, lower your blood sugar as well, strongly, and that's called metformin, 500 to 1,000 milligrams once to twice a day. Now, it turns out not only will it reduce your insulin resistance, so the other way of saying it, increase your insulin sensitivity, it also activates the AMK longevity pathways in your body. So people who have diabetes, who take metformin, will often outlive people who without diabetes who are not taking metformin. So some people, such as myself and others, such as Dr. Sinclair at Harvard, we take metformin as a longevity drug. It turns out that metformin not only helps with reducing insulin resistance, reducing your blood sugar, it also prevents different cancers. It reduces different cancers. That's a wonderful thing. Now, they call Alzheimer's diabetes type 3. Type 1, which is typically at birth, where you're not getting enough insulin. Type 2, which is most people, it used to be called adult onset diabetes. And that's where you got insulin resistance, where the receptors aren't letting in the blood sugar, so it stays in your bloodstream and messes up everything. Now, they'll tell you, you want your blood test to take 2 things. You want your A1C and your fasting glucose level. A1C and your fasting glucose level. If your fasting glucose level comes under 100, your doctor will say, good news, it's normal. It's normal under 100. Remember, do you want normal? No, you want optimal. Optimal on fasting glucose level is 75 to 85. 75 to 85. Let me give you an example. So if your blood sugar is, say, 97, normal, you're more prone to Alzheimer's. You don't want that. You want to keep your A1C. If you get up to like 5.7, 5.8, they'll call it diabetes, you want to get it down to 5 or as low as you can. You want to get that down. You want to get A1C. A1C is an average measure of your blood sugar over a 3-month period. So you want to bring that down. Now, a good way, if you can get a prescription or you can just pay for it yourself out of pocket, it's not that expensive. You have these monitors you can put it in your shoulders, just boom, shoots on there. And you can then take your cell phone and read what your blood sugar is. If you have various foods, you can see what goes up. I had that. I was using it for a while. I found all things, brown rice was making mine go up, but it didn't shoot up too much. We'll go up to 141, 151. You're going to get rises after you eat. Your blood sugar goes up, but you want it coming down fast, and you don't want it staying up there too long. If you're getting another thing, if you get atrial fibrillation, which is electrical disturbance in the heart, it could be a blood clot. That's a problem. They have a drug called Eliquis to help dissolve the clots. I'm just taking a look. Oh, of course, the niacin will also dilate your blood vessels. Aspirin will help, even in baby aspirin, help thin out your blood. I think I've covered. Now, in your heart, there's 3 parts. You want, if your ejection fraction, how efficient is your heart contracting? You get a good, strong contraction. So even after my heart attack, I had a scar on my heart, but I had a 65% ejection fraction, which is really good. So you can get an angiogram to see what's going on in there, where they come up an artery. Now they do it through the wrist, and you take a look at what's going on. They go in, take a picture of what's going on. If it's a problem, they put in a stent. But an angiogram is the ultimate test, but they have a PET scan to put in some radioactive material, and they can see pretty well what kind of blockage you're getting. So you want to have a good ejection fraction. Now, if you want to improve the strength of your contraction of your heart, hawthornberry. Hawthornberry will enhance the strength of the contraction of the heart, which is very good for you. So you want to have good perfusion where the heart's getting a lot of blood in it. You want to reduce the blockage and have a good ejection fraction. You want to have a a good relationship with your doctor. It's even good if you love your doctor, if you're loved by your doctor. An MD, a DO, you want a medical team. An ND, which is a naturopathic doctor, nurse practitioner. You want a team, and they'll be your advisor. Now, in terms of cancer, your body, the reason cancer spreads, your body doesn't recognize a foreign substance because they're disguising that they're really enemies. So they have a lot of the chemotherapy takes off the disguise, and then your T cells and natural killer cells see it and devour it. You want to increase the production of T cells in your thymus. Your thymus gland is here. The Chinese have a tapping thing. See, tap. That'll increase the stimulation of your T cells. Certainly, if you want to decrease all problems, cut down your sugars. Cancers feed on sugars. If you cut down the sugars, that's going to cut down on your ability to live. Normally, we all have cancer cells, but they typically commit apoptosis where they kill themselves, actually. But if you're not getting an apoptosis working right, or you're building a lot of blood vessels to feed those cancers, that's all a problem. So again, cancer is not a problem. It's just if it gets into metastasizing and spreading over your body. Now, you don't want to just use natural ways of treating cancer. You want to go through allopathic methods where you're somewhere killing the cells, and then you have ways where it's not going to be coming back, and natural ways to cut down the side effects of the chemo or radiation therapy. Now, we all know that stress gets somaticized, goes into the bodies, goes into the organs, and will exacerbate any medical condition. If you have a flu, arthritis, Alzheimer's, blood sugar levels, diabetes, cardiovascular disease, cancer. So you want to be reducing your anxiety, your depression, panic attacks. You want to be taking 4 deep breaths an hour. I'm going to show you how to do it. Watch in. In through your nostrils, which releases nitrous oxide that dilates your blood vessels. And the long exhale activates the parasympathetic nervous system, and that suppresses the sympathetic nervous system. The sympathetic nervous system is fight and flight. It constricts the blood vessels, so this will help dilate your blood vessels. You want to try to get about 4 of those an hour. I don't know of anybody that does 4 times an hour, but I tell people to do that. And you want to get as much of that as you can, that deep breathing. And certainly you want to increase your oxygenation, getting outside, whether it's vitamin D and more, better form of oxygen, more pure oxygen from the trees and the plants. And you're going to be moving the lymph and the blood. You want to prevent blood clots. And let's say you're on a plane, if you're sitting anywhere too long, but the plane is one example, you want to be getting up and moving. They say sitting is the new smoking. We all know that smoking causes cancer and heart attacks and strokes. So that's a given. But here's the real deal about all of us. How important is it for you to stay alive? How important is it really? Not what you say, but do you really want to live a long, healthy life? You could say, oh, yes, yes. No, most people don't. I'll prove it to you. Just look what people put in their shopping carts at the supermarket. They're putting toxic foods, hot dogs, Twinkies. Those processed meats are just poison, increase cancer and cardiovascular disease. Just toxic. I remember sitting at a restaurant with my wife. There was a guy sitting there, and we started talking. I had about 4 kids with him, and told me he had diabetes. The blood sugar went up to 300. Well, later I saw him when his food was delivered. He got these white pancakes. Now, white pancakes, just made out of just regular flour, will raise the blood sugar enormously. But if that wasn't bad enough, he took maple syrup and he soaked it in maple syrup. I said, hey, bro, I don't mean to butt into your business, but you can just tell me you have diabetes? He says, yeah, but I just can't help it. He ate that. Afterwards, one of his sons came up and hugged me and said, thanks for trying to help my father. So I could tell you for a fact that most people who die of either cancer or cardiovascular disease We did it to ourselves. When I got my heart attack at 61, I did it to myself. I was eating all kinds of stuff just to get big so I can do that bench press. And I wasn't healthy. Everybody I know who's dead today, without exception, did it to themselves. Either through the eating, smoking, across the board. Nobody had to die as early as they did that I know of. I'm 83 years old. I've known a lot of people. So it's one thing to say you want to live and have a long, healthy life. It's the other thing, do you really? Now, I don't care what people tell me when they say yes. Just look at your actions. Are you eating your beans, greens, and berries? Are you taking the right supplements? No, by the way, when you're taking supplements, each one, that I've mentioned to you, has a lot of science behind it, a lot of science. But you got to stagger it. You got to, I got about 50 different supplements, but if you take them all every day, it will backfire. So I have like Wednesday and Sunday where I hardly take anything. You got to get days away from it. Nobody knows all the interaction effects and whatever. Some interaction effects, for instance, if you're on a statin, you don't want to be taking grapefruit juice. That interacts in a negative way with it. So different things that can interact. But a lot of interactions we don't know about. We just don't know. By the way, when I was telling you about the awesome four for the heart, coenzyme Q10, magnesium, L-carnitine, and D-ribose. Now, D-ribose, you have what are called mitochondria in every cell of your body, every cell, your heart, your brain, every cell. That's the powerhouse that creates energy. That creates energy. So, and these what's called adenosine triphosphate. Adenosine triphosphate, it's abbreviated as ATP. Now, ATP is adenosine with ribose. So you have about 9 grams of ribose in your body, but you use it up about every 60 seconds. So supplementing with D-ribose, if I say 5 grams 3 times a day, will increase your adenosine triphosphate production, which will increase your energy and very good for your heart. Your heart needs a lot of that energy. So you want that D-ribose. And you want to be doing exercise. We know that's a magic bullet to prevent every disease. Matter of fact, when you do more exercise, you build up your mitochondria and all throughout your body. Weightlifting, cardiovascular, you want to do cardiovascular exercise, aerobics. You want to learn about Qigong, the great Chinese masters. For instance, if you want to activate your lungs and get them going, want your thymus activated. There are different ones. You want to activate your kidneys, you hit back on your kidneys. So the different ones you could be doing. That is actually where you're rubbing your hands over your belly 9 times one way, 9 times the other, to just kind of bring that qi, that energy into your cardiovascular system. Now, that's the Chinese medicine's awesome. Most people don't know too much about it in the West. Then also you have Ayurvedic medicine. You have the medicine process from India, where they talk about 7 energy chakras. I do the 5 rites of Tibetan yoga, which opens up the chakras to get the energy flowing. So I have a video on the website of monotherapy.com called Dr. Nerenberg's 80th birthday message. I'm showing weightlifting, stretching, Qigong, 5 rites of Tibetan yoga, and cardiovascular exercise. I'm showing it all on my 80th birthday. So that was my 80th birthday present to you. Yeah. Attitude is very important. To the extent you're optimistic, you're going through any illness, any problem at all, or you can have some kind of surgical procedure or any illness, optimism will enhance your prognosis. That's an established fact. State of mind will affect how well you do with any illness. You want to be telling yourself this: I hope to come back much stronger than ever. Whatever you're going through, mentally, emotionally, physically, I hope to come back much stronger than ever. If you believe in God as I do, I hope to come back much stronger than ever, God willing. Now, for those who believe in God as I do, one thought you could also say, because typically we turn to God more when we're suffering. Medical issues, legal issues, financial issues, we turn more then. So I use this one, which is a derivative of one of the commands of honor. God, I'm extremely grateful for the gift of trials and tribulations that bring me closer to you. God, I'm extremely grateful for the gift of trials and tribulations that bring me closer to you. So when you say these things, you're in a darkness, but it's putting a little bit of light into the darkness. It doesn't make all the stress go away, but it's a little bit of light in that darkness. Hope to come back much stronger than ever. Another good one is, God willing, I'll be fine. Those are little rays of light in the darkness. Those are powerful ways. But ultimately, believing that you're an eternal soul, you want to enthusiastically embrace your life. You want to also enthusiastically embrace your death as a portal to pure love and light. So many near-death experiences, well documented, where people saw light when they passed away, they flatlined. I know one person in particular who I trust. He said, he saw his mother intervene, and he didn't see God, but he saw his mother, and she asked for him to stay, and he flatlined 3 times, and he came back and remembered it. And there are other people, like Hugh, who's doing a video right now. His mother went through that near-death experience, and she came back and never feared death again. My good friend C.T. Fletcher, he went through it. He never feared death again. So the good news is there's good things waiting for all of us on the other side. We want to do all we can to stay here, and then at the same time enthusiastically embrace our death as well. And it's good to tell our loved ones, hey, don't mourn too long. You know, it's going to be bad for you, but it's going to be good for me when I go on. I mean, that's really what it's going to come down to. And then I always tell my kids, I say, look, when I'm gone, I'll do all, and I tell people that I love them, I'll do all I can for you when I'm on the other side. Whatever way I can be there for you, I'll come to your dreams. I'll do whatever, try to help you in whatever way I can. Of course, any person you have that's passed away, your loved one, you can be talking to them, praying for them, helps the progress of them as souls. Very good, very good, very good. One prayer I use from Abdu'l-Baha, it's, let's see if I remember it. O God, O thou forgiver of sins, bestower of gifts, dispeller of afflictions. Verily I beseech thee to forgive the sins of such as have abandoned the physical garment and have ascended to the spiritual world. O Lord, purify them from trespasses, dispel their sorrows, and cause them to behold thy splendors from the loftiest mount. So, and anybody that went on, I have a video called The Best True Story About Death, where you can talk to your loved ones afterwards, pray for them, express your love, your gratitude. It's healthy. So the whole thing is to embrace your death, but to fight like heck to stay here. Now, I like to say jokingly, but seriously, staying alive for me is a full-time job. And I do say it became a hobby. So for me, going through all these things, almost got taken out a number of times, I'm able to help you, help my children, help all of you who are my people, and for you to know how to navigate this. I'm telling you things that no one ever told me, really. I mean, I had to investigate, find out. And it's like my father said to me, son, I have a lot of good advice to give you, not because I've been so smart, just I've been so stupid. So I've done a lot of stupid things. I've done more stupidity than you. I've lived longer than all of you. I've done more stupid things than you. And that's part of my credential to help you. Everything I teach is based on psychology, the teachings of the divine teachers, and personal experience. It's all original. It's all original. Of course, these facts are not original, but the psychological, much of the psychological dimensions, the whole way of honor that I teach, that's all original. Now, certainly caffeine, coffee has chlorogenic acid in it. Life Extension has a really good with high chlorogenic properties. But for many of us, including me, caffeine, it tends to constrict the blood vessels, more prone to what are called BVCs, premature ventricular contractions, or even atrial fibrillation. I had to cut down on my caffeine. Premature ventricular contractions where you're skipping a beat. And we all have some amount of PVCs, but I was getting a lot of it, and I realized it was due to the coffee. Nurse practitioner Bert was part of my inspiration to stop. He suggested it, and I was told before to stop, but when I started getting the PVCs and he said that, I stopped. I've always been grateful to him for mentioning that to me. Also, I don't know if I mentioned too, beta blockers. Beta blockers are very good for slowing down your heart rate. Like atenolol will knock you out, make you very tired. Metoprolol will slow down your heartbeat. It won't tire you out as much. So you have to know which medications to use that have minimal side effects. Well, that has a lot of what we need to talk about right now. So now I'm going to open up for your wonderful people here, your comments, your questions. Feel free to ask me anything. Again, I'm a clinical psychologist and not an MD. I have to again say, consult your doctor on anything I've said. Even though everything I've said is based on science, I still have to legally say that. So I'm saying it again, twice. Please go ahead and ask or say anything you want. Yeah, Hugh.
You spoke about how probiotics are good for your digestive tract, but there are probiotics that also belong on your skin. And if you're using antibacterial soap, you can be doing damage to your skin.
Yeah, he was saying you have probiotics, which are good, for all areas of your life, your digestion, but also for cancer and cardiovascular disease prevention. So it's more and more amazing things. Even Alzheimer's has some positive effects in preventing that. But Hugh said on your skin, your probiotics help protect your skin and keep it healthy. And if you're using some of these antibacterial soaps, it kills it off. Absolutely true. As a matter of fact, I see a lot of postpartum women, wonderful, wonderful human beings. Big job, hardest job in the world, being a mother. Whew, big job. So I always say, was it a C-section or vaginal delivery? Well, many tell me it's vaginal delivery. I say, excellent, because as the baby's coming through the canal and coming out the vagina, it gets coated with a very healthy probiotic. And it's very good for the skin. Very good indeed. Of course, if they can breastfeed, which not all women can, but those that can, breastfeeding has our colostrum, which enhances the immune system. So it keeps the baby really healthy. If you can do it for at least 6 months, a year, heck, even 2 years. But practical considerations can limit that. But not every woman could produce that milk. But those that can, it's wonderful. Just being able to conceive is wonderful. I see so many lovely, lovely post-delivery, oh my God, postpartum women, beautiful, wonderful human beings, sacrifice everything for the babies and for the family. Beautiful, beautiful people. Magnificent. Bravo to all my postpartum throughout the world. My God, it's a huge job. And by the way, so when the baby's in you, to the extent you're practicing the commands of honor, 4 commands of honor, and these other thoughts that we're talking about, you're doing your deep breathing, that's all healthy for the baby. Very, very healthy for the fetus. Very healthy. Good question. Thanks for that, Hugh. Always you have good questions. So I'll open it up to anybody else who wants to ask a question, make a comment. Please feel free to do so. People always benefit as much or more from hearing from you than hearing from me.
I would like, Doctor.
Yes, who's speaking?
This is Reginald.
Reginald, good to hear. Always, Reginald, always good to hear from you.
I just wanted to ask, well, I gave up drugs, I gave up smoking, I gave up alcohol, and I gave up milk. And out of all those things, I love milk the most. I think I love milk more than my mother.
Hey, let me ask you a question.
Nobody on this line has drunk more milk than me.
Oh, no, I used to drink a lot of milk. What do you like more? What do you love more, milk or your life?
That's okay. That's what we're going to. So what I'm saying is this. My PSA is actually excellent, but I go to the restroom a lot. I have an enlarged prostate.
Yes.
So because I drunk milk, is that the cause of that? Or is
I
that
can't
totally
say
different?
that's what enlarged your prostate. I can't say that. There are natural substances you could take to shrink it. You may need to have them go in and ream it out because it's going to interfere with your urination. You want to get that taken care of, but I can't say milk is causing that, but it could be. It's certainly not helping it. By the way, alcohol, I should mention this. This shocked me when I found out about this. Even small amounts of alcohol can cause cancer. Small amounts. I know most of my people like their alcohol. I understand that. But it's going to come down to, and people say, well, you all got to die sometime. I'm going to enjoy my life while I'm here. That's reasonable. I understand that. But you may not like how you die. If you drop dead suddenly of a heart attack, good for you. Good for me. That's great. My father went that way. A lot of people don't. It's a slow, drawn-out death, an invalid. So our hospital is just swamped with patients. It's driving up to medical costs, health insurance. We spend more money on disease control. It's not really health. It's really disease, dealing with diseases, than any nation on the planet. So it comes down to, do you really want to have that alcohol? I know it's part of many people's lifestyle, and there are some health benefits to it, but so like a lot of things, there are health benefits to milk. This happens to cause prostate and breast cancer. A lot of health benefits to fluoride. It's really good for your teeth. It's known to cause cancer. So some of the things that have some good things are also going to kill us. You have to say, well, so worth it to have good teeth and end up with cancer or Alzheimer's? So it's always, you want to have good teeth and get cancer, or find other ways to. By the way, improving your teeth, you do it naturally through brushing and flossing. That's all good. But tongue scraping also, your oral health, and it's natural probiotics that you can get that your mouth needs. So if you're using Listerine, mouth rinse, you're killing off your good probiotics in your mouth. You don't want to be doing that. Your oral health is connected to everything. For example, if you get a root canal, an alternative medicine is say you're better off with an extraction, because you get a root canal, it drives some dangerous bacteria down into your cardiovascular system, could cause a heart attack. So if you can get a root canal, you might want to be taking an antibiotic to kill off that bacteria that's going to start floating around. Some of them is pretty dangerous. The mouth harbors some pretty nasty little critters. Tongue scraping, and as well as the flossing. And then also a little bit of xylitol at night to alkalize your mouth and spit it out so you're not swallowing it. It alkalizes the mouth, and it makes the membranes slippery so the bacteria can't grab a hold. So it actually helps prevent tooth decay and gum disease. That's very important because your cardiovascular health is very tied to your oral health. Everything's all connected. All the organs, the whole electrical, biochemical, magnetic system that we are, everything's really connected. I've dissected it only for the purposes of talking about ways to live. And by the way, all the supplements and foods that I told you about, not only good for you to prevent cancers and heart attacks, it's good for everything in your whole body. You name it, and it's good for you. It's good to prevent arthritis, Alzheimer's. It's all connected. The things I've told you will prevent much more than cancer and heart attacks, much more. But that's the subject of today because those are the main two killers. It'll help everything in your whole system. Of course, you want to be drinking green tea, and if you're drinking that, it also helps promote good oral health. Now, the other thing I need to tell you is senolytics. Senolytics. What you have going on is what are called zombie cells. You have cells that are not duplicating, they're dead, and they're staying in your system. The older you get, the more they're just hanging around. Then you need the macrophages to come in and eat them up. So the whole, and they're giving pro-inflammatory chemicals. Those dead cells are causing inflammation, which is the foundation of all disease. So senolytics, which is like biophysotin, quercetin, theoflavonoids from black tea. You can get that combination called senolytics. Many companies make it. Life Extension has it, where it's already put in one pill, natural pill. And you take it once a week to help rid yourself of these zombie cells, these dead cells that which give pro-inflammatory molecules. You want to get rid of those guys. You don't want all that dead stuff hanging around in you. And it will cause serious problems. And of course, all disease is made worse if we have obesity. Fatter we are, the fat cells themselves give off inflammatory molecules. That's the foundation of all disease. By the way, one of the longevity organs is muscle. To the extent you're building muscle, which you can do through resistance training, to the extent your muscles are bigger, you're going to live longer lives, particularly the leg muscles. The muscles most associated with long life are strong legs. Because typically as people get older, they start falling, they break a hip or whatever. That's often the beginning of the end. Strong legs. The next one is good grip strength. And you can strengthen your grip strength not only through squeezing these little squeezers, but doing dead hangs from a bar. That builds up the grip strength. When I set a world record when I was 70 of 261 pounds per square inch, and that was developed from hanging with, I did a hang for 4 seconds with 310 pounds hanging from a chain belt. And I got my grip strength was really good. This was at 70, so 13 and a half years later, my grip strength is still pretty good. I can get 140 to 160, but I'm always disappointed I can't match what I used to do. I wish I'm going to get back to it, do heavier hangs. This very good, Reginald, very good. That's just for you. You gave up good stuff. Good for you, Reginald. You're on the right path. And the alcohol will go if and when you're ready for it. If and when you become ready for it. But you're on the right track.
Thank you, doctor. I gave up the alcohol. That was the easy part. It's the milk is the hard
Oh, the
part.
milk. Yeah, the milk. Listen, I loved milk. I mean, I just loved it. I would drink it all day long. I was raised on it. When we're breastfeeding, we're getting mother's milk. That's really good for us. But after that, the China study, Dr. Campbell's China study, thick book, deadly. Dairy products, deadly. Just trying to help prevent you from getting prostate cancer like the old man here did.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, Reginald. Always good to hear from you.
And you as well.
Yeah. Who else would like to ask a question or make a comment?
Hi, Doctor. It's Emily.
Emily, always good to hear from you, Emily. I'm always hoping you're going to speak up. Hi. So
I have a couple questions and a comment. Like, basically, the comment is that, it's a good reminder that, we can, use modern medicine, but also, go a more holistic route and combine the two.
Exactly.
I'm 42, and for like most of my adult life, I've taken vitamins and tried to go the holistic route with a lot of things. But getting older, there are some things where I just need help. And, I've accepted that it's very hard for me because I don't want to, but it's needed. But like you said, if you try the other things like the red rice yeast and different things like that, it can be helpful. So,
well, let me interrupt for 1 second. I'm really glad you're saying this, and I want to come back to what you're saying because I know I'm interrupting you.
It's okay.
The allopathic medications all have side effects. Sometimes take it long enough, you can have a problem. You have to know how to navigate that. For instance, a statin drug, if you take it every day, you're more likely to get serious side effects. If you take it every other day, and you take with ezetimibe, you're less likely to get the serious side effects. You have to find out ways to navigate it. If you're taking a statin, you want to negate the side effect of reducing your natural coenzyme Q10 production by taking coenzyme Q10 ubiquitol, so you're getting the amount of Q10 that you need in your system. So you want to find ways to mitigate the negative side effects of the allopathic medicine. For instance, with breast cancer, graviola is a natural herb. That's not meant to replace chemotherapy, but it's a good supplement to help reduce the probability of it's coming back. A lot of times chemotherapy will get it where it looks like a person's in a state of recidivism, of absence of they can't find any cancer cells. But then it comes back with a vengeance later. The things mutate, these cancer cells mutate, and your immune system can't recognize it, and it destroys it. These cancer cells are like, they have a host. They're like immortal. You can't kill these guys unless you're coming with radiation and chemicals. A lot of times when you're in chemo, you're often killing your own cells. But there's always progress. They're finding a special protein that Hugh showed me that many of these cancer cells. So if you can take away the mask, because the cancer cell masks that their cancer says, hey, I'm just a normal guy in here, but they're not just a normal guy. They're deadly, but they mutated where you can't, that your immune system can't detect it. So a lot of the cures are removing the mask and go, aha, whoop, and eat it up. So now, please continue.
Yeah, and that's a good point too. It's just like you said with normal and optimal. It's like they get your body to a point where it's not detected, but like maybe keep pushing forward with something else to supplement. So I think that's very important. So thank you for that also. But I had a question.
Yes.
My question was, I've drank caffeine since I was a teenager, and I recently, over the past couple months have, weaned myself off. And I would say for about 3 weeks now, I have not drank caffeine. With like a couple of exceptions when I've just been extremely exhausted, like maybe like 50 milligrams, like a half a cup of coffee. But I just don't have my energy back yet,
Let me interrupt you there again. Let me interrupt you again, Emily. Perfectly said. Listen, when I went off of caffeine, it's never been the same. I would get a really good hit on that caffeine. I mean, that's all I can tell you. And it would give me a lift. In every way, it would be a lift. And it's a loss. It's absolutely a loss. I only went off it because I was getting premature ventricular contractions, and I went off the caffeine. I'll have decaf a few times a week. My one cheat day, I'll have a pastry once a week. I have my decaf cappuccino. It's a loss. My energy, you could take rhodiola to get more energy. You could take D-ribose to get your energy. There are things you can take. But to be honest, none of it gave me the kick that caffeine did. Just didn't. And, I would have to say that at an experiential level, my quality of life did go down a wee bit going off the caffeine. I'm not going to lie to myself or you either. It's a loss. But now what I do is maybe once a week, I'll have a little caffeine, maybe a half a cup of coffee or a fourth of a cup. And I'll take an extra beta blocker to make sure my heart rate's not going to go up much, just because I need that hit. But it hasn't been the same for me. And I've been off it now for caffeine for 6-7 months. So listen, each of these things helped us cope. Alcohol helped us cope. Milk was great. It gave us a sense of, fulfillment, satisfaction, comfort, whatever. You give up something to stay alive. It's a loss. Listen, when people go off of drugs, I mean, they get such a good rush off of the different drugs they take. They give it up. It's a big loss because there's no rush like some of these drugs that people get. So there's a loss. Be a lie to say there's no loss. There is.
Yeah, I've had a lot of stomach problems over the past 5 years, and I don't eat gluten. I haven't ate gluten since 2020. I limit the dairy and, anything that upsets my stomach because it's just so sensitive. And I've noticed since I've given up the coffee, it's like I barely have stomach aches unless I go out and have if I eat a meal out, it's usually, even if it's not even that bad, it gives me a stomach ache.
Well, let me tell you something. Let me interrupt you again. You make such wonderful, wonderful points as always, Emily. Now, if you're having blood pressure issues, you want to reduce your sodium. I'm not just talking about sodium chloride, which is table salt. Yes, there's so many forms of sodium bicarbonate, sodium nitrates. If you get these canned soups, you may have 500, 1,000 milligrams, and it damages your kidneys and also will raise your blood pressure. So I don't have more than 40 milligrams at one time, because otherwise it'll just spike up my hypertension, spike up my blood pressure. So you can hardly eat out, because when you go to restaurants, they put in sodium because it's a good preservative. They don't care about our health. They care about shelf life, which affects their profits. So I can only eat certain places. Or if I get some fish, I'll say, please wash the fish. Make sure it's not marinated. They wash it. I say grill it make sure there's no butter on it because it has salt. Use some olive oil or nothing on it. So when I get it, I then squeeze some lemon on it to help marinate it. And then maybe I put a little pepper on it. And I like it. But eating out's dangerous. The sodium will be damaging not only your blood pressure, start damaging your kidneys. And kidney problems is a problem in itself, but also will affect blood pressure. Kidney and blood pressure are very connected to each other. Eating out is a problem, not only expense-wise, but nobody's going to give you the healthy food that you can make at home where you know what's going into your food. The thing you don't want in your food is all that sodium. I mean, a lot of sodium.
Yeah. Do you think that's what it is that makes me feel bad when I eat? Because
I don't think it's for you. It's the sodium. For me, it is because
okay.
you don't have blood pressure issues, do you?
No.
It's unlikely that's the sodium.
My top number is like 115, and then but the bottom one is 80.
Yeah, the 80's a little elevated. Yes.
Tell her to have her gallbladder checked. I used to have the same symptoms.
Well, Hugh said he used to have a gallbladder problem and it did that. Any organ that goes off, all kinds of stuff could happen. So he suggested having your gallbladder looked at. But I would say this. Keep your sodium down to minimum. I'm not saying it's causing any stomach problems for you. Could be some gallbladder issues, maybe not. Usually if you're getting gallbladder stones, you're getting some pretty severe pain, just like kidney stones, really painful stuff. But you're watching things, Emily. You're watching things, and that's good.
Good.
What's that?
I like to feel good. That's why I don't like to feel and like I'm not functioning well. And as I've gotten older, it's just it's almost isolating somewhat when you don't want to eat out and you don't want to drink alcohol. I love a good cocktail, but it's just everything makes me feel crummy unless I eat healthy.
Let me tell you. When I had that heart attack, I used to smoke cigars, didn't inhale it. I loved a good cigar 2 or 3 times a week. So my wife, after my heart attack, said, you got to stop smoking a cigar. I said, what are you talking about? I don't inhale it. I really enjoy a good cigar. She said, don't do it. You have to stop. So I didn't really think it was damaging, but I knew if I dropped dead of a heart attack, my wife would come to my grave and curse me out. So I said, well, I bet I'll just stop. But secretly, I expected to go back in 6 months. But 4 months later, I didn't have that craving because I had quite a craving. So I gave up cigars, which was really enjoyable for me. It just depends. It's probably best I gave it up because it can cause lip cancer or mouth cancer. So, and then who knows how much of that got ingested into me, the nicotine or whatever. So it didn't hurt my health to give it up. Probably helped it and saved my wife getting ticked at me at my grave.
That's funny. Doctor, I have one more question. When it comes to the energy levels, because you were talking about optimum versus normal.
Correct.
My hormone levels are normal, but I know that when it comes to estrogen loss as you get older, that could impact your energy, your sleep. I definitely have sleep problems, which we've talked about many times. And also
well, let me tell you this. Excuse me for interrupting you again because you make such good points. Yeah, you want to get a good hormone panel. Now, I don't know the parameters for women, but for men, you want to get to testosterone. Optimal testosterone is 600 to 900. And mine was, when I was 80, my testosterone was about 876, which is higher than the average 20-year-olds. And that's from having pomegranate juice, olive oil, and lifting heavy weights and eating broccoli. That kicks it up. But then also you want to have the free testosterone for men. That's the testosterone that's actually used. But for men, they want to have their estradiol as optimal. You don't want your estrogen going up for men when the testosterone is going up. Optimal for a man for estradiol, which is a measure of estrogen, is 20 to 30. Mine is usually within that range. If it gets too high, we could take an aromatase inhibitor such as Kristen to bring it into normal range. Mine stays pretty well. But I don't know the optimal level for women. I would Google what it is, but then get your estradiol tested. And then one thing, soy products, soybeans, whatever, can raise your estrogen level. You may want to look at that.
Yeah, I actually read about that recently. Okay, thank you, doctor.
Well, thanks, Emily. You always bring up such good points. And whenever I see your name as one of the people here, I always think, oh, good. Yeah. Good.
Well, I love the subjects you bring out and the thoughts that come out. So thank you so much.
No, you're most welcome. Most welcome, Emily. Anybody else would like to bring up a question or make a point? Please feel free to do so, and I will do my best to tell you about it, particularly from a natural approach. I told you some of the natural anti-inflammatories, curcumin, garlic, and ginger. just know that fish oil not only bring down your triglycerides, but it's also naturally anti-inflammatory, and it's good for the brain. So it's good for the omega-3 is good for the brain and all your organs. So you want to have that maybe 3 times a day to get a good fish oil. And by the way, for moderate depression, fish oil will help reduce depression. Well, it's been my pleasure and my privilege to be here with you and to preventing cancer and preventing heart attacks. Thank you so much for being here and allowing me to share with you this very important information.